who are here, your own, and as UNDP representative, but also as the acting resident coordinator. Also, our resident coordinator, Mohammed, is not around. Let me say welcome again on behalf of all the UN system to the UN House for this very important stakeholder roundtable, which is dedicated to the role that civil society can play and would play and should play in the regional partnership for democracy. Let me simply use the abbreviation RPD. Let me begin by extending a very warm appreciation on behalf of the UN family to the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, for his visionary leadership in championing democratic renewal and regional cooperation across West Africa. We also honored once again to have Ambassador Janet Olisa, ON Director of the Regions Department, to represent him. Madam, thank you for your presence and support once again. Friends, today's gathering speaks to a very powerful truth, and that is democracy cannot be sustained from the top down alone. It must be nurtured from the ground up through active participation, voice, agency, and vigilance of citizens. It is you, our civil society leaders, organizers, advocates, and innovators who give life to that vision every day. Let me say that the Regional Partnership for Democracy is more than a policy framework. It is a people-centered, African-led platform for building democratic resilience, inclusive governance, and regional solidarity. In collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, UNDP is honored to serve as a technical and implementing partner for this ambitious initiative. The presence of so many dynamic civil society actors here today signals a clear commitment to ensuring grassroots legitimacy, ownership, and impact. The RPD is envisioned as a participatory regional mechanism, one where CSOs are not only stakeholders but co-creators. And so this roundtable is therefore designed to explore how civil society can help localize the RPD's vision across communities and countries, define mechanisms for ongoing engagement in elections, media freedom, civic technology, and so on and so forth. And thirdly, to identify opportunities for capacity building to monitor democratic performance and advocate for civil rights across the region. We also recognize the challenges civil society face: shrinking civic space, digital threats, structural exclusion. Therefore, the RPD aims to be part of the solution, a platform for dialogue, for defending democratic values, and for sustaining civic participation across borders. So let me be clear, civil society is not a side actor in this effort. You're central to it. Your voice is essential, not just to validate this initiative, but to shape it, to guide it, and to hold it accountable. So as we move through today's agenda, from the keynote by Ambassador Olisa to the presentation by Professor Camille Kamaluddin and the interactive dialogue to follow, I encourage you to speak boldly, think creatively, and engage deeply. The success of the RPD will rest on how well it reflects your insights and responds to your realities. Let this roundtable mark the beginning of a stronger, more structured partnership between civil society and regional democratic efforts, one grounded in mutual respect, sustained participation, and shared purpose. I thank you for your commitment, your courage, and your contributions to democratic governance, not just in Nigeria, but across West Africa and, of course, by extension, the African region. And I look forward, or let me say, we should all look forward to a very rich, inclusive, and action-oriented conversation, one that is truly inspired by your leadership and one that is truly spirited. So thank you once again, and welcome, and looking forward to a very exciting conversation. Let me also apologize for the late start of the meeting. We'll try to catch up with that. I know that all of you are very busy, but please accept our apologies for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, for that very insightful welcome remarks. Next is the opening address to be delivered by Ambassador Janet Olisa, representing Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tuka and Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Your Excellency, ma'am.
Good morning. Again, I would join my sisters to apologize for the delay. We need somebody's. So, my apologies. I have to juggle so many things. We have a lot of trips of my bosses, so all the main key officials are out on official assignment, and we just were guys not to say this is not in our character at all. The UNDP resident representative, Excellency Elsie Atafwa, thank you for once again hosting us at the UN House, for being patient with us all through the launch and stakeholder engagement. Professor Khalil and Dr. Joseph Otubu, for your insight into how to make sure that we present to all our stakeholders in terms of the areas of collaboration. So, I would like to extend greetings from His Excellency, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Please note that this particular interaction is the most important for him, but it has to be in Brussels for African EU Summit of Foreign Ministers. It wasn't something he could not be in attendance. And the Honorable Minister of States is the last term for the powers was asked with Mr. President, and I believe they are on the way back. The Permanent Secretary is in the UAE, again representing the Honorable Minister at the function. So me, as I come bearing good greetings on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and to say we are pleasantly happy to have you all. Like Elsie said, you are the most important link in what we are discussing today. So the framework being developed around democracy, governance across West Africa, you are not a stranger to what's happening within the region. Even in Nigeria, you've always been a key player in ensuring that good governance is the centerpiece and making sure that legitimate governance is pushed. So the RPD, the essence is to have a long-term impact. We would like to hear your own side, how you would like to bring in, or what you would like to see, how you would like it to be designed. During the presentation, you're going to hear and listen to what our thoughts are. Like the Master of Ceremony earlier said, we've already pitched two different routes. The countries that are going to be spearheading and driving it is the West African region, and we intentionally say West Africa, not ECOWAS, because you are all privy to what's happening. So West Africa means all 15 countries, no exception. We are bringing everybody on board. How the implementation and monitoring will be. So how do we want to formalize partnership with you as a key stakeholder in this, how to drive it? How do we strengthen the civil network? How do we build capacity and sustain engagement? It's very important, and that's the essence of today. So it shows you that you are a key player. We cannot take that for granted. We follow your trend. We know how strong you are in different fields, and that's again why we are with the UNDP. we're not just partnering with anyone. We want to ensure that the planning process, you are in it at the very beginning. It's not that we want to impose, after it's all done, we now come to you. No. This is still the planning stage. We want to hear your voice. We want to know how you would like it to be put in a national and regional framework. You have experiences across the region. And so how do you think, after the presentation, we'd like to hear your voice to say, okay, what kind of collaboration are we looking at based on your experience in electoral integrity, media freedom, civil society engagement, technology, and ensuring there's legitimate drive to what we are trying to do. Nigeria has always been the case center for the region. So it's not missing that we are doing this. We are looking at it. There is, I won't call it a problem, but we need to resolve the challenges before us. We need to understand what's driving changes. We need to see from your own, we get to the grassroots more than we do. What's the conversation in the grassroots? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? So that when we put our plans together, we will say yes. We've been able to listen to our parties, especially the civil society, and these were the aspects that you said you would like to see. So please listen attentively to the presentation. Do not see it as a final thing. We are still planning, and we would like to hear your voice. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for laying the ground for the matter of the day. Thank you. Our next is the presentation of the Regional Partnership for Democracy RPD program. This is where the experts will lay the ground rules and proposal. For this, we have Professor Kamaldeen and Dr. Joseph Ochogu, who is the DG of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. Prof.
Can you switch off your mic?
Excellency, hosts, President, Mr. Marshall, Senior Advisor, Prof. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm super delighted being here this morning on this occasion to say that once we are faced with challenges as an individual or as a nation state, what is going to provide the solutions are going to be initiatives, that new initiatives, you're going to create initiatives that we need to build on. And the Regional Partnership for the Democracy program is actually one of such kind of initiatives. We know at the respective levels also there are different initiatives the organizations are driving, but this is one initiative that is coming from the government of Nigeria as well as the UN system. We all are aware of the global dynamics and the shifts, that's happening around the world and all that. But I think that democracy is something that we all have to be passionate about. It's something that we all have to be convinced and committed to. I mean, in terms of all the forms of government, we saw that democracy provides the best form, of governance, and that is that conviction also that we share, and we all are aware of some of the revision in terms of the reversal of the gains that democracy have made, within the African South. So this initiative, everybody is very involved, to try to further entrench this value through the true partnership at the multilateral, bilateral, national level, and local level, to ensure that we entrench democracy. It's spite of the challenges that we have, the democracy is remain the best that we must, or push to ensure that democracy thrives. So, what we have to do is to collectively practice what we preach. Times are very difficult, but we have to own up to it. And what democracy does is to hold people in leadership accountable. In some other forms of government, there is no opportunity to have people accountable. I mean, there are some parts of West Africa that you criticize government in the way from state to the war front. Is that the kind of society that we want? So we need to actually build this democratic culture to ensure that we're able to hold leaders, hold people who hold office around the country or councils and all that. The values that we uphold, democracy, like the rule of law, need to be practiced, and we need to see them being practiced in every decision-making bodies or entities around the planet. Even at the multilateral level institutions, in terms of the UN system, you see the cry for UN reforms, and this push for those reforms are actually coming from civil society organizations like the academia and the media, not essentially those who have power or who are government in these countries and all that. So it's this coalition of civil society, these people that we are speaking with today, to see how we can make a world of difference in the regional partnership for democracy. Why are we here? West Africa is a defining moment for its democracy. There are growing questions about whether democracy is truly delivering the evidence of democracy. There are contradictions, no doubt, contestations, no doubt, in terms of the practice of democracy on the ground. There are citizens questioning whether democracy is actually democracy or what is it for. But like I said in my area, we must not give up on democracy. In spite of the challenges, we must continue to push the frontiers to ensure that we get what we need to get. So today presents a timely and fitting opportunity to jointly deliberate on the way forward for enhanced and entrenched democracy in our region. What is this regional partnership for democracy all about? It is a strategic initiative headed by the government of Nigeria, particularly the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in partnership with the UNDP Nigeria for a democratic renewal that will collaborate with governments, civil society organizations, media, and the diplomatic actors to, first and foremost, promote a pan-African democratic philosophy. There have been these Nepal, efforts at Nepal, different mechanisms, so it's not static. Thirdly, a West African democratic model that delivers the evidence of the democracy for the people and for the unites the region. For those who are good in history, you know that the region is actually, after bifurcation, there's a lot of division in terms of francophones, and all that. We need to connect, to see how we are able to get this initiative. So perhaps create a model, that speaks to our reality.
Thank you, my co-pilot, Your Excellency, Madam Ambassador, ON, Your Excellency, Madam Ara, my co-pilot, platform guests, distinguished civil society partners, good afternoon. My part of this presentation is to take the journey Dr. started from the what and the why to how is it going to work. But let me stand on the protocol established that this is not cast in stone. This is a proposal that we all have, that we all reflect together so that we can help to shape the RPD in the image that His Excellency, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, has so eloquently established, and the vision that he wants this to be a collective process of co-creation. So, all of these beautiful things, how we need to work in practice, knowing what we know about how things work. First is the structure that really responds to the vision. a structure that responds to principles that govern well-run projects and programs and initiatives, and a structure that has all the elements that allows for the ownership, hearing from the platform here, that allows for accountability, that allows for effectiveness and efficiency. So therefore, key organs that are proposed for the implementation of these particular initiatives, the RPD. At the highest level is what we call regional oversight board. This is the policy organ. This is where the ownership is exercised. This is where decision-making authority rises to the highest, and this is where the direction of the entire initiative is shaped, and is composed of the member states, as you all imagine, but also there will be representation of critical partners to be determined by the board. It is the leadership organ, and that is what that one does. Mainly policy and strategic direction. Below that, there are two organs. One is the program coordinating team that is residing in UNDP. This is a governance initiative. It's a democratic initiative. It's a people-driven initiative. It's a member state initiative. And you have interest, you have representation, you do need a structure that is far removed from the political nature of the process, so that it can run in a way that is documented, it can run in a way that is efficient, that is unhindered by any perception of partisanship, any perception or any of personal capture of this. And that is the way we are. I mean, that is the reason there of United Nations to bring non-partisanship or the highest level to run on the particular time. So this that is there under the under the people, and that is why try and do standard that. So that is very important for this so that the second or the technical really below the general overhead more is also the technical all expert team, and as we will be dividing already within the presentation that we have different aspects of democracy that is respond depending on that, depending on particular location, conflict, or depending on the particular cause that the democratic journey of different from the policy of the regional and social aspects. So these experts will be there to provide intellectual fire on the response to the support. And then we have the program. This is extremely important part of the process and consists of actually is where the administrative, logistics, communication, are all tied together to make sure that students perform in their head and then grounded and just respond to what happens later and the leadership of the country. And this is very important for opponents. That is the plan. Beyond this four, there is potential for a key form, and this is an organ that is specific to different functions, depending on the nature of the initiatives that we can form. If, for example, there is necessary to support a particular country and move resources, move the program in a particular program to that country for months or for years, in the future, then you will require a local team that will be responsible for communication. And that is what we propose as a country level. This is not a family future, but if you align and the future allows us to move forward. What are the thematic priorities? And what is okay? How is this program? What is this not program? What are the things to do? What are the things to do? It is the religion partnership. Everything that borders on strengthening democracy and making democracy deliver the dividends for the people with the government as the right and as a president of the law. There are examples of various priorities that may be covered even more we know. And that includes election, includes information integrity, includes taxation, includes governance, research, includes political participation and inclusion, justice, human rights, rule of law, and so on. This is not a justice. This is so that those are the things and priorities that are important in all we know. Regarding this is very important because all these things very difficult to keep in mind, not to start asking the question and rather because of the now we need to ensure that within the bounds of what truly responds to the needs of the people, of what really keeps the partnership going. So we have a sample here as well. Respect of sovereignty and independence of our members. That's extremely important, and the countries themselves will tell you, we're here, we are who we are, and that is what it is. And if you respect sovereignty, then you have them on the table, and then you can have discussion. Rule of law and social contract. This is extremely important because if you operate outside the rule of law, you can't even get yourself to sit at the table where democracy is. We know there are stress points. We know there are stress points. We know there are issues. Why is it so expensive? Why is it so slow? Why is it so corrupting? Why is it so violent home. Why? There are many questions in many jurisdictions, in West Africa, outside West Africa. It's so important that this principle is upheld so that it can guide action and can also check actions as well. Inclusivity is extremely important. Democracy is about the people, and people are people in their diversity, in their situation, in their circumstances. And democracy, without that plurality, without that diversity, it's so important that this guiding principle also is seen in effect in the course of implementation. Non-partisanship, at times you look at people in the eye, and this does not fly, simply because that is what it is. And sorry, let's move to can deal with that. Accountability and transparency, this is extremely important. And for UNDP, this also extremely important, because it is what gives you who you are. It's what defines you, and to ensure that resources that are flowing, confidence and trust that have been so freely given, have not been abused. You have to rise to the highest standards of accountability and transparency. This is where integrity resides, and context sensitivity. People are people. They respect cultures, they respect tradition, they are of certain social background, and so on and so forth. There's no imposition, but respect for who we are and the context in which we live and the circumstances in which we work or exist or live will be very important. And those guiding principles are extremely important in the management of this project. And I think this is the reason why the partnership with UNDP is, as Madam Chair said earlier, is extremely important. I will give back to the co-pilot for the rest of the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. We'll just quickly try to run through a few of it, you know. Great, thank you. So we're trying to look at what Nigeria's own strategic role in the fostering democracy is. These are our convictions. These are our convictions. One, Nigeria is a leader. And I think that one of the creative and innovative things that is happening right now is the fact that we have a government ministry, you know, that is trying to champion this kind of initiative. Like I said before, normally go home from civil society, academia, or the media, the pressure, you can call that. But here we can find the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you know, that is committed, you know, to this, you know, and to for this partnership, you know, driving these. So Nigeria is Africa's largest democracy, you know, which lends credence in terms of the kind of strong leadership will be in these. And like I said, and I think Prof. did mention, in spite of our challenges, we must still commit to these things and drive these things. And also set the tone for regional democratic conversations. We need to begin to open this space for more conversations around democracy. What the challenges are, how do we overcome these challenges, you know, and make our society much more better. The second one is in terms of regional influence. You know, drives democratic values through regional and AU platforms. And I mentioned earlier that we have a lot of beautiful documents, and all that. So what this challenge gives to us right now is the opportunity to begin to pressure for the regionalization of some of these principles that we have in the ECOWAS protocol of democratic governance, the EU Charter, and all that, for the African people. This gives us an opportunity to begin to hold the state also accountable to begin to do some of the things they are signatories to. So also track record for advocating for stability, peace, and good governance in Africa. Nigerian foreign policy is a very, very peaceful foreign policy. From 1960 to date, it has maintained our posture. So this has been the driving force. Nigeria is a very, very peaceful country, whether I want to agree or not. But our foreign policy is subsumed, under that pillar of peace making, peace building, not only within Nigeria, but in the region and across the world. So it's that commitment also that is driving the pursuits. Also driving collaboration. Build shared strategies for the democratic resilience through the 4D foreign policy strategy, all and all, democracy, development, demography, and diaspora. And these are things that we can actually take out of Europe and then make mileage off. Why is RPD important in strengthening regional democracy? One, the RPD initiatives provides us the shared African vision for democracy. You will hear that democracy is an alien thing and all that. This provides us opportunity to take ownership, which I think all of us in this platform have mentioned. And so taking ownership of this process. How do we make local context relevant to the essential realities of our people so they can get the evidence of it and all that. The second one is it will help us to claim ownership of the African democratic evolution based on our values and our collective aspirations as people. And thirdly, it will enhance and reinforce institutional resilience. There is nothing as good as democracy. No matter how stressed and pushed it is, democracy always brings a counterbalance. Forget this new global character of multilateralism. And I assure you that after the next election in the US, multilateralism, liberalism will still come up on the agenda again. And that's the beauty of democracy. You have ideas, you push it on. If you get elected, you push the idea. If your idea becomes archaic or outdated, you afford some other group of people opportunity to come to the space. And I think those are the beauty of democracy that we need to pursue. Another thing again is that it will promote shared reforms, peer learning, and mutual accountability. There is nothing as good as accountability. No matter how bad our situation is in Nigeria, at least the government feels responsibility to say certain things to us. You can't say that of some of our brothers around Burkina, Mali, or Nigeria right now to speak. So that's the beauty. Those are the things that is important in terms of how strengthening democracy. So here is the meat of it now. What do civil society, why do civil society matter for litigation in RPD sources? Civil society, I would say, that is the very core of society. Don't mind if government UNDP or we all belong to civil society organizations. Even the guys who wear military uniform, ask those who have retired where they are right now. They might have gone back to their local communities, trying to involve community development and all that. So civil society is the powerhouse of any society. That's why I say civil society is the brain box, it's the foundation, the bedrock of any society. And that is how key and important civil society is also to this issue. Without the civil society, this issue will fall apart. And that's why these stakeholders are very, very strategic in terms of our engagement. One, it gives us legitimacy, signaling international commitment to regional stability and governance. And then secondly, it leverages opening doors, for both technical and financial resources to scale up what the visions are, what the aspirations are, in terms of entrenching democratic values and culture, in our society and across the region. And then thirdly also, for civil society, provide the leadership, position development partners as co-architects of Africa's democratic trajectory. It's not something we're going to work alone, we just can't work with alone. So we want to work with partners and other people who have the same kind of shared values, and foster this agenda, going forward. I've mentioned in certain places, and I will try to reiterate that here, that we currently, we are facing very serious challenge. What I call the competition, of authoritarian values and democratic values. So we need to take sides on which side we're leading to the democratic values and then foster it and push it. What are the strategic entry points for civil society? One, democracy-focused monitoring, evaluation, and learning. Without you, it's going to be difficult to have a bit of checks and balances in what we do. So, the major entry point is it provides us avenue also to co-develop, a shared monitoring, evaluation, and learning systems for the RPD. And then secondly, is strengthening governance capacities. What that means is that it's going to reinforce regional and national capacities in the area of digital governance, gender inclusion, transitional justice, and institutional civic technology. And then finally, on that, contextual governance indicators to strengthen governance indicators that are region-specific, culturally relevant, and then grounded in lived experiences of our people. And that. So, how this is still now, how can civil society contribute to the RPD agenda? I want to thank you for your patience thus far, but this is very key and this is important. Then the first one is in terms of technical support. There are lots of you seated in this place here who want to know democracy, and myself here, people that are related to science, people who are practitioners in the field. I mentioned someone who will be the fighters in the trenches, against democracy. I have a lot of them. I have my brother here, who's been across the world, even in developed countries, helping to build democracy. And that's the truth. So we look for this level of technical support, from civil society, providing technical partnership to ensure added rigor and value in design and implementation processes. The second contribution to civil society in the agenda is ensuring accountability. And accountability is very critical, very key to what we do. We will help you to ensure transparency and accountability through strategic oversight. That is questioning and interrogating, and ensure that we are on course for what we commit that we need to do, and then monitoring and evaluation. This will ensure heightened impact and results, as well as facilitate stakeholders' feedback in the system. The third one is advocacy and community engagement. What African democracy has suffered in the last couple of years is the disconnect between the citizens and the government. Our democracy has become so highly elitist that the definition of democracy can hardly get into it. The RPD says to address this kind of efficiency in our democratic form. So, advocacy and community engagement is very important. I think that mentioned that, So, supporting by sensitizing and organizing support, as well as promoting understanding of RPD objectives among civil society organizations in the West African region. Finally, on how can civil society contribute to RPD agenda, is the issue about mobilizing resources. Assisting to mobilize both human and financial resources to implement RPD projects and activities effectively. So this is what the civil society can do. And there are more that civil society can do that those of you who are practitioners know that, of course, we can contribute to what we set it to achieve. We can't do the RPD without civil society. I want to appeal to all of you here for your passion, for your commitment and your conviction for democracy, to join this very powerful by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the UNP. I thank you.
We're not taking people that are here pictures. They're just taking us.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from our experts. RPD is ours. The civil society organizations all gathered here and the ones outside. We are required to key into the design and implementation and subsequent monitoring of the RPD. That's why we have gathered here today to have the stakeholder engagement. Please, another round of applause for our experts. Thank you very much, Professor Kamaldeen and Dr. Joseph Chun. It's now time for the interactive session. We have questions, comments, observations, criticisms. It's now time for us to make them and have this very robust conversation. I can see Mama already smiling and hands are going up in the room already. Please signify by raising your hand and the use of your microphone before you and ask with your submission. Yes, sir. Your name and organization before you give your submission.
Good morning, everybody. From the high table to those among us who are in the audience, and those among us who are in the audience. My name is Dawud Abdulrahman. I'm the director of the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD. I think the first thing I took a look at when I stepped into the room was to read this document, especially the what is RPD. And I must say that the two paragraphs there, the last sentence in paragraph 1 and the last sentence in paragraph 2, appealed to me so much, especially against the backdrop of recent conversation that I've had. Up to Saturday, I coordinated a major program on democracy landscape in this country. And I brought in quite a lot of professors who also and also civil society partners who had to work on these issues together. And we virtually are aligning with the conversation that is already started here. My little worry, because I heard you said that even for criticism, and that's where I want to come in. This seems to be a food that is already cooked now, that the civil society are being invited to come and eat. So where were the civil society when all this were being conceived at the level of diplomatic cities? I think that for me is very, very essential. It's very essential because we are at a time in the history of not just Nigeria, not just West African region, but also in Africa, knowing fully well that democracy is at a crossroads globally, and that people are thinking of how do we redefine democracy in a sense that will accommodate the content that is here, in terms of the autochthonous or autochthonality and the values that we are expressing here. So in any case, if it is not for us, if we are not involved in the conversation. So I was surprised when I heard Professor Kamal talking about the structure. It means the food is already cooked. So I think that that's an area we need to look at, but it's also gratifying to find a government agency interested in leading this process. And we have a sub-region that is seriously in need of the values that are currently being canvas here. Already we are a West African region that is now known as the coal belt of Africa. So we have to do something, and we need more to work in the area of bringing civil society to be in the forefront of this conversation.
Thank you.
Maybe I stop it there. Other persons will have to contribute. If there are opportunities to intervene again, we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We would like to entertain as many questions, observations as possible. So let us keep this to a minute, max a minute and a half, please. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Civic Participation, and I work with many policies forum. I do want to say that obviously this is the movement that we need at this time around the present region, but I want to really point out what I saw. When we were talking about the thematic priorities, I did notice that gender was not specifically put out, and I think that it's an issue that is really affecting our democracy in the region. If you look at our region, most of our countries in West Africa are really performing poorly, and we only have, I think, Sierra Leone as our saving place in the region. And also, I saw that in the document that was sent to us, looking at the dates, I saw that 13th of May, we're supposed to engage partners with member states. I don't know that since is happening. I want to know, is there also, because as the CDD director already said, this has already happened already. So we are just bringing us in. Is there also going to be a level of this breakdown and engaging stakeholders in other countries apart from Nigeria? Because as much as we are the big name in this region, there are also other countries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for recognizing me. Just first of all to say, I appreciate the ministry.
Name,
okay, my name is the Sheikh Musaya Foundation. I appreciate the ministry for this initiative, which is non-exporting, it's non-normative in the sense, in trying to shape the practice of democracy in the sub-region. And it harkens back to the leadership that Nigeria has shown in the sub-region in the past when it's been in crisis, and so this is something that I would love to applaud. But I would like to highlight a few things in the presentation that strike out to me that we need to be very careful about. First of all, is the nuance in democratic backsliding. I think it's been misread. Citizens are firmly in favor of democracy. The democratic backsliding is elite-driven. It's important in the messaging that we are very careful that we position ourselves with citizens and understand the direction in which they're looking at the problem from, because if not, we risk being lumped together with foreign interference, where we are seen as the opponent or the messengers of Western liberal democracy, and that's a danger that is happening across the sub-region. That's important, and especially because of the role Nigeria has played. Sorry, but you can't export what you don't have. It's important that we begin to look at our own democracy, promoting something to the rest of the sub-region. How are we internalizing it here? So that's something we need to take into consideration. The other thing is trust hierarchy. The militaries rank number 3 in trust hierarchy when, if you look at all the surveys that we have referenced in some of the, religious leaders and traditional leaders are important in this conversation. They rank very high. And finally, one thing that this partnership can deliver, and I think should be institutionalized, is a community of practice around democracy in West Africa. An inclusive community of practice is that can be institutionalized and separate, independent from the institution of government. I think that would be a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, madam.
Good morning. My name is Kenya from Africa. I have some questions. I'm not sure if you're able to take everything because just some things that came out of the presentation. And the first one is going to go around stuff in terms of what benchmarks do we have in West African states? What's working in other African countries that are going to benchmark what's influencing the regional agenda we are setting to achieve in terms of influence or in terms of shaping democracy and all. The second question I have is looking at the thematic priorities. Of the 5 priorities, if you were to bet on one, which one would it be? Which one should the RPD spend the first 2 years working on to ensure that we actually have democracy as we should have it? The other one for me is the role of the civil society and winding down. When you say ensuring accountability, and you look at the structure you've got there in terms of the flow of government, how the RPD is set up, I don't see how the civil society is going to ensure democracy except outside looking in. And I'm not sure how the voice would be operated in that structure you have. So maybe it's worth another look to see where the role of the actual civil society is. And the last one for me will be.
Can you say that was the last of the last?
Okay. I just got there.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. So we'll answer this part of the question and then we'll come back to you. Thank you. Okay. Yes.
No. You said we take 2 or 3 rounds. I just thought maybe you might want to take a few more just in case they're coming together. But anyway, all up to date.
Let me take on this one. Thank you very much. This is very rich and it's getting vibrant. I'm sure we can still notch it up very quickly. One question that disturbs me, that's where I will start, that is already cooked. No. There are not even ingredients. No. Anybody will tell you that to work on an initiative like this, you need something they call project document. There is none. This is just the preliminary consultation to feed into the project document preparation. So that you don't come when we get to validation and say, where were you? That is when it is good. So we don't even have to see. This is, that one worries me, so I don't let you calm.
Yeah, you gave us the governance.
No, I said in the presentation that this is what is being proposed, and it will change based on the conversations that we have, and it will change based on the decision of the first board. But there has to be something to present when to guide discussions.
Yes.
And this is what we have now. Tear it apart, by all means. But please bring something back. And I'll go to something back by going to Amara's point about the community of practice is extremely important. And that is why learning and knowledge building is central to this. You will have seen it in this. It's so important because we need a critical mass. This is the largest that we have seen in the conversation. And that is good, that's the way it should be. So if you have the critical mass or you have a community of practice that is West African, then you start building constituencies away from duty bearers that do not deliver. So, excellent point, and that is the reason why we are here today. The question on democratic backsliding, we've always had this question. I think it will change in the project document. But let me tell you what it is. What it is that democracy itself is not delivering. It's not like people or countries are not delivering. If you start with that, you are going to be on the wrong foot. Because no country will want another country to start preaching democracy to it. What it is that there are values which we share. And that's why we're all here together today. And those values are important. And if we have instruments or facilities or mechanisms that helps us to improve, to strengthen, so that we can deliver more then everybody will rise to it. If there's a community of private, nobody will say, you can, if the research institutions and the NGOs and the CSOs, they will say, no, government is doing the one, we are going, because this is important for us. This is our prize people. I use that to say that we work on democracy together. So, gender, yes, it's on the agenda. So, and this is not the project document. The document will elaborate. Take whatever you hear now as poetry. You will see it in prose when we get to project document. And that answers the question about benchmarking. Yes, benchmarking, because we do have in practice, and it's not the difference for this initiative, we need to develop full-scale participating monitoring mechanism, and there will be elaborated results that will be translated into deliverables over time by resources that we need. So it's going to happen as well. I have I like the point about sensitivity, and you see that's also a principle to perception of democracy. If you ask my grandmother something about democracy, she will sit you down and give you a thorough lecture as to what democracy is supposed to mean, and the connection between democracy and poverty and democracy, poverty and political opinion. She will say it in a local language and you will not miss anything out of it. So it's so important that when we start on an initiative like this, we will not lose sight of people who are already comparing apples and oranges. And they don't care. They are looking at fruits. And I said, you know what? Don't tell me. When I had this, I was happy. When this came, I was happy. When that came, I was happy. But different levels of happiness. And that is the question that they are asking. That's what they want from democracy. That's what democracy should start talking to the people. And I salute therefore the leadership of the government in doing this. Because it's important to diversify the instruments that are available to you to pursue this important thing. And people who come to power via democratic vehicles, they cannot come to power and refuse to pay attention to how to strengthen democracy. Because you don't want to go back to I don't want to name any country or state. You just want to continue to advance. So it's important that, and this is our time. I'm also in the civil society because I'm retired. What is important is that this is our time to make sure that a good, very valuable project that is initiated by government survives. And we have to rely on it. And it is not susceptible to hijack. That's it. Sorry about that. No, I'm good now. Trust hierarchy. Well done. We need to go to the international national support. When we have the flesh a bit and we can speak in prose, then we will get there along the validation. And it will not be restricted to a particular group, it will be broadened so that we can bring as many as the local community. And the minister said this in the first consultation. He said the people should be central to this. And somebody talked about autochthonous, that what makes it autochthonous is actually the local content of it, the people, their values, their tradition, their expectation, their aspiration, their experience. That is, thank you. That's exactly what's important. So it's going to come, and we are going to get it. The last point I will take of it from here is the structure is already. I think I responded to the structure. The structure is just inside there. It's not even the architectural drawing yet. No, it's just like it's going to be a two-story building. So what is going to be, and then the gauge of the beam or whatever, those ones will come, and there are experts that will join us in the process. Should I give something on the role of civil society?
Okay, I think let me respond to the issue around military leadership is getting traction in terms of the city. People are getting more exposed towards it. Perhaps this might provide an alternative for us. If you listen to the lot of my conversation, I talk about the reorganization of troops. I think that is what the organization should be happening on. What is this? Every society have their challenges. But we will find ourselves in the region is the reorganization of these challenges. You don't have water, you need water. And then somebody is saying, you truly don't have water. And it's like you cannot have water. The only way you can have water is perhaps to get country. So we actually, our region is like at a crossroad right now in terms of this competition between these sort of material values and the practical values. Sadly, I think we need to be a bit more open here. Our political elites are playing as if they have all the time, to make a lot of difference. They simply put no much time. And I think that this is the opportunity for civil society to buy into this kind of agenda, for push this frontier, change that we need. Because whether we will lead or we will suffer. So I think that's it. And just to further mention that the documents are not cast in stone. This is part of the consultative process. That is on last week with the development partners. We're going to meet with other people too. And also, thank you also for raising the issue of traditional as well. I think going forward, you will have this pre-colonial kind of engagements. And once I get traditional, I think that can also a community that we can help also address these whole issues of terrorism and other kinds of places here. So we can see that this democratic agenda that is coming to might be providing us some pathway in the area of peace and security if we do it well. And we can only do it well with the push from civil society.
Thank you. Next set of 5. Wow.
Okay, thank you. My name is Kevin Kuketo, the Executive Director of Partners Experts in Nigeria. And Dr. Chobu has just made a comment close to what I wanted to say, which is looking at the priority areas. I saw human rights, justice, rule of law, and I'm wondering why public safety and security was not specifically mentioned as a standard because of the challenges we have within the sub-region. Secondly, is electoral integrity. I think electoral integrity should also be standard because electoral integrity determines the type of democracy we will get. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Civic, I'm the founding executive director of the African Center for Leadership Strategy and Development, Senegal. Let me join others to say that this initiative is very timely, given what is happening in West Africa. But I think that the greatest challenge that initiatives such as this face is operationalization. Political will and funding. It is the UN system and the Nigerian government willing to put money into it. I particularly like a comment by Her Excellency about the General Hotel, that the focus is on West Africa, not ECOWAS. But that also brings a huge challenge. ECOWAS at 50, reimagining ECOWAS is a huge issue today. And so the RPD will some way have to engage with that. As we talk, there is an international conference on ECOWAS at 50 at NIA. It was supposed to be there, but because of this program, that's why I missed today to join them tomorrow. So I think that is one issue that has to be my final point, and that's for the technical people, is that the vision that was presented is actually mission. That's not mission.
Okay. This gentleman here.
My name is Chima. I'm for the solution. I must first of all say that this is a very timely and lovely initiative by both the UNDP and the Ministry of Environment of Foreign Affairs. One very important thing, my very big question as a student of foreign policy is from a constructivist point of view, what is Nigeria thinking? What are the ideas? Because it is kind of really tricky looking at especially what our vision is. And I don't need to stand as an advocate or to speak as an advocate for young people who are beginning to lose the fandom, quote unquote, for democracy. Because on what basis should we stand to advocate for democracy when our own democracy, we are not sure if we can go to the ballots and vote and ensure that our votes actually count. So why should Nigeria begin to lead this when even our own democratic structure is not something that even our citizens can trust? So that's very important from a constructivist point of view. Of course, it's a global village now. There's a lot of globalization that is going on, and this will greatly affect both the vision, the operationalization, and everything as it were. But in a global village, it will spill over, especially because of globalization. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman on the heart.
Thank you very much. My name is Civic Foundation. I also want to build on the founder of Africa Center for Leadership Mr. Ortiz is saying this discussion is actually time at the audience of now. But my intervention is going to be around a particular quote that said democracy without economy is a recipe for anarchy. And when you look at West Africa, talking about RPD in West African context, there's a lot of noise in our democratic landscape. So my question is, are we going to be talking about strengthening democratic partnership in West Africa without looking at our political reality? Because our political reality actually defines our democratic landscape. We cannot talk about building a sustainable and enduring democracy in West Africa without looking at the reality of our politics. So now, secondly, I think I have three recommendations. For us to build this, we need to build democratic resilience. We need to talk about human rights accountability, then regional cooperation, because there is a need for regional cooperation amongst West Africa for us to achieve the RPD.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shamsuddin Abrazak. I led the team at Growing Initiative. And one of the things I actually wanted to talk about is on the structure. So when Prof was actually talking about the structure earlier, so the last part of it, which has to do with the country level, so he was talking about when, maybe when there is a need for such. So, and from the document we've shared, here there is a Q&A. It talks about this time around, it doesn't want it to be reactionary, rather it wants it to be proactive. So I think for us to be proactive, we must have, so still going back to operationalization now, we must have specific programs that are defined for possibly annually, that are going to be carried out at country levels. And at the same time, because we don't know what will happen, we should also give room for possibly the reactionary aspect of it. But be that, we have to be very, very proactive and strategic by looking at what we already have, tackling it while also looking at the future. So we can't just simply define or just stay, the structure is there, and just waiting for it to, anything to happen, that will now act on it. So I think we are not being proactive enough in that light. Then talking about the thematic areas, electoral education was actually done with information integrity. I think information integrity, more than ever, should be a standalone thematic area. So we are in an era of disinformation, and fake news. And at this point in time, it doesn't matter whether there is election time or we're having an electoral or maybe any activity. It is something that happens on a daily basis. So it's something that we need to tackle head on, and it should not be lumped with electoral education. So media information literacy should be seen as a fundamental human right across board. So those are my solutions. Thank you.
Yes, it is very difficult to keep telling Nigerians that Ouagadougou is not looking like Dubai yet. But it's a losing battle. It's a losing battle. Yes, a gentleman in brown, and then Chancellor.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I want to follow the listening protocol. So I want to, okay, my name is James Subuchu. I'm the General Secretary of West African Civil Society for WhatsApp. So I want to commend the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for this initiative. And of course, it is the initiative that its time has come. And when you WhatsApp, we've been in existence since 2003. Working with ECOWAS in Nigeria, exactly what you are presenting here. So this initiative coming from the Foreign Affairs of Nigeria is a good one, given the big brother role that Nigeria will be playing in the West African region. So I want to assure that our platform, which has membership across 15 West African countries, is a veritable tool of which this initiative can drive to achieve its purpose. But I just want to raise some simple concern here, and that is that of sustainability. Because this is Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and of course, Ambassador Tuga is there. How are we going to ensure that this is going to be a sustainable initiative post 2031 and above? The second one is how can we ensure that we have a working document that, irrespective of the administration in place, that this initiative will continue? Because for democracy to sustain in Africa, this particular initiative is very important, and Nigeria driving also is very important, working with the existing democratic structure.
Samson, I promised you next.
Well, thank you very much. Let me preface my remarks by telling Joe, you said 2031. Are you giving the president his time? Thank you very much. Well, my name is Samson and I work for Uganda Africa. Just 3 quick points. The first one relates to the conceptualization. And I think the area scholars, you speak to this clearly. But I think that it's important in this discourse to clearly understand whether within the region what we are experiencing is backsliding, erosion, or stagnation. The debate is still ongoing, and there isn't any consensus on that. And I think that if you're going to be pitching this, it is important to raise this in the course of the background conversation. conversation around this. The second thing, which for me is also a bit of concern, is that we're framing this as a response to democratic backsliding for the most part. And I think that we just need to strike a balance with democratic resilience. In other words, there are good things about democracy. There are classic examples about democratic progress within the West Africa region. And so this can also be an intervention that reinforces it. Rather than focus too much, it is important to focus on stagnation. I belong to the school of democratic stagnation and not backsliding, because backsliding assumes that we have attained a certain level of democratization and now we are receding. When in actual fact, in some of the countries within the region, they are still just in the early stages of a democratic evolution. The last point I will make, which will be a concern that has been raised, is just about the institutionalization of this. Honestly, I have listened to the minister and I've listened to this presentation. I'm still not convinced that the institutionalization of this is guaranteed or structured to the extent that it guarantees the sustainability over a period of time. And please, if this is for 4 years, boldly say it is for 4 years, and after 4 years, it ends. Don't promise people that this is going to last for 10 years or it's going to be continuous. Even if it's 2 years, say it is 2 years, you get the coalition of feeling that will support you. So we don't raise too many expectations, and at the end of the day, people start questioning the objective and the issue.
Thank you very much. We'll come back again after that for the final. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll start with Mr. Tudu's set of points. Stagnation, backsliding, erosion, all of them are present in different countries that are at different stages. Absolutely. So, but if you look at it across the board, last decade we were beating our chest that whether we are to certain undemocratic experience. But you can't say that today. That's a little bit of the truth. And it's very clear. But I like the warning that why don't you don't try yourself with the one. Set it free. And we are responding to circumstances as we evolve in our democratic journey as a region. And that is it. Actually, you are very charitable. Some of the questions we had before was taking us to no, and that was not the intention. The intention was to ensure that we start building resilience, we get democratic journey to the point of no return. We thought we were there, but we were not there. So we will factor that into the documentation. Institutionalization, that's what we are doing. But how do we get to institutionalization? If you have a community of practice, that would help. If we are able to work with democratic institutions in the various countries, some of them will be their legislature, if that is the next thing for them. Some of them it will be justice sector. Some of them it will be human rights. Some of them it will be a coordination. That is where this will come from. But if there is learning and there is a community that is able, there's an active civil society that is able to hold those structures to accountability, then who will move the needle into the problem. The design as of now, granted that there are no workers in the planning team, is that this is a pilot phase and the government already says so. But if this is able, with your support and participation and our work together, we're able to push it, it will sustain itself to the point that we would have something to leave behind. And that is the hope, that is the aspiration. I don't think, the minister said clearly in one of his comments after the session on the day, that look, I am here today, I am doing what I think is the right thing to do, and now we deliver. Those who come after me, if they are inspired, they will deliver. But there's one thing that he has done. He said, look, take it to UNDP. They have the expertise. They have the reputation. They have the network. And they will be able to take it forward. And hopefully, that process will also include taking it across principles, across terms. And somebody mentioned 2031. I don't know what it is, but we will try as much as possible to factor all of this so that we take the world seriously. I take a lot of positive, so I'm not going to say, I'm not going to defend anything here. We are still collecting information. People who want to see a lot more of the diplomatic practice highlighted, we will do that. That can lead us from my note there. We have so many of those priorities that we have on the ground. And I did repeat myself that those priorities are only indicative. We have peace building here, we have election system, we have accountability, we have fair learning, we have dialogue, we have education system itself, not political education. The education as a whole is there. We do have human rights, we do have political parties. Somebody was really strong on political party. So all of these we just added to the list from your comment. We thank you for that. Information integrity, this is key. If you look at your document, you see a lot about disinformation and misinformation, about fake news, and with justification. Some of them are deliberate, just to sway opinion away from or towards certain end. So we have to start doing that. In an age of technology, there's no way we cannot pay attention to that. It's not supposed to be launched with political education. That's not the idea. It is just to bring it to attention. That's what's happening there. Country level structures, we are very proactive to think that it is going to be needed. We, at the level of being proactive, cannot go beyond that now, because we do not know what the circumstances will be. What is important is that the structure is robust and flexible, that when it is necessary, it goes in. We are not going to need another legislation, if you understand what I'm saying, to get those things done. But we will keep it there. Yes, somebody talked about Nigeria's credentials. I know where you are coming from. And sometimes it can really get a lot of sympathy. But the truth is that where Nigeria is today can be miles ahead of others in the region. That's also true. So somebody said we need to start looking at the balance. If anybody has to do it, that's to be Nigeria. That's more than half the population. That's more than half the GDP. That's more than half. Democratic structures, in its diffusion, in its diversity, in its open. We're here discussing it. We can't even do half of this elsewhere. So it's important that we thrust ourselves forward. If we can't preach it, we will also be learning from our sermon. It's important. No, you are misunderstanding me.
No, it's clear.
It's a philosophy.
Yeah.
So we need to push this and that's why I said we should encourage this. We should as a benchmark as we evolve this process. Vision and mission, we will deal with that one, because if we start on that course, we'll be looking at where is the objective, where is the vehicle, where then we will not deal. But we accept that that deserves a review, and we will come back to you if we need. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that on the issue around institutionalization of RPD as it progresses is something to be looked into. We have an issue around high expectations and utilization of the program also. I think that is important to actually utilize it, and then provide a timeline so that we can measure the mileage and all that. So I think that we'll look at that, the framework document moving forward.
So just 2 comments following from what the sister said. The Honourable Minister already engaged in the legislative arm. So the intention is to institutionalize the process. It's not a campaign 2 years or so. If that is the case, we would have actually start running the team, and you will be hearing it on social media, the Minister of Foreign Affairs is doing it. But no, we are bringing everybody to the table to ensure that we institutionalize it, that even after he leaves, it's a legacy behind to say, okay, this is what we've started and how. And I agree with him that every minister needs to come in and build on what has been laid down. And the other comment I want to make is on the issue of ECOWAS West Africa. ECOWAS as an entity, we say we don't want to be part of ECOWAS, and we are saying fine and good. However, we are still neighbors, and we cannot divorce that singular act. Niger is usually part of us. And my minister will say, from Nigeria to Mali is not really that far. I'm still trying to understand the route she's kind of conveying, but the idea here is, fine, you don't want to have this organization, how do we continue to be good neighbors? How do we continue to relate on the bilateral level, and which you can see from the act of us going down, swallowing our pride? Big country, yes, big brother, but even in our family setting, the big brother is the one that comes down to the junior brother and says, oh boy, you get what's happening, how do we get this family moving? So that's what Nigeria does. And if we go back to our foreign policy objective, Africa is right there. We agree that we can't do without our neighbors. So this thing, it is West Africa, because we must continue to relate bilaterally.
Thank you.
If I may just say 2 quick things, because I know that the ambassador has 20 minutes, so we can keep it short and sweet. But just maybe quickly, I think maybe we have to look at the nomenclature, because it's, and I think it's totally KK. Maybe we should just drop the word backsliding or whatever, this or that, these doesn't, so we might want to look at the nomenclature. The other thing around the financing, I think that was the said in terms of where the money going to come from. I think that's a conversation that is still happening, and I know His Excellency is also in engagement with the government to see how much can be seeded. But I think what is important for us is not to see this as a project that we need to go and mobilize money. It's something that needs to be anchored in the countries themselves. We need to work with different partners to really get into investment. That investment may not always be in money. Some of the investment will be in ideas, networks, and collaboration, and so on and so forth. Obviously, we also need to broaden our interpretation of where the money will come from, including from the private sector. Why would they invest? Because we need to be able to link, for example, the business interests with governments. Because if you want to be able to export, you need a continent of Africa, continent of Asia, there seems to be value to trade. And so we need to build those things. So I think that for me, what I take from here is that it's a cooperation space, and perhaps one of the things that you should look into is how do we bring members together and refine some of the things and make sure it's much sharper. But maybe you can keep it short and sweet for the next round, because in another 22 minutes, you won't have to.
Yes, please. can you limit your question to just 1 minute so that we can bring this to a close?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Justine Adoku. I work for Action in Nigeria. My question is around the organ, that's the structure. So I'd like to ask if there are already experts or people who are already there, and if not, how do you intend to select stakeholders, to be part of committees? Is that organizations just decide where their expertise lie and
Thank you very much. Do you have a question, sir? I thought your hand was going up.
Okay. Okay. So
1 minute.
Okay. Okay. Mine just a little summarization here is.
Can you speak closer to the microphone?
Yeah. Actually, my intervention is mostly around structure. But I want to say that to remind us that democracy over time, the promises of democracy have not changed. What has changed, or what seems to be changing every now and then, is those behind the operations. And I want to say, I don't sympathize with the drivers of this because Nigeria is indeed a big country. And if you agree with me, we're beginning to lose our grip of regional leadership. And civil society images are prepared to buy into whatever that will make our democracy, strengthen our democracy. And even now, we are ever ready. But you know where our trouble comes, where our concerns are, is we want to see the drivers to be serious for the first time on this because the character of our own democracy does not give us the moral authority to spearhead this, but we are in a better position to do it.
Thank you.
I mean, given what you've just said. So I think we are ever ready. We let us promise ourselves that it's not going to be business as usual.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yes. 1 minute, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So, as the question might be answered, I'm going to take some of those things that I was asking for. So, first, I felt that should be added to the project document. We need some data, particularly we talk about the issues around perception as to, democratic values and authoritarian values. We need to look at what people are really thinking about it. That's one. Two, so that we can know how we can tackle it from the cultural area and from the demographic area. Then in the demographic area, will take me to my own constituency, which is the young people. We follow the trend, what is happening in social media, and the way the Nigerian people, my brother talked about it briefly, how we see, because we grew up into this, and then what we are seeing is different from, you've enjoyed what democracy should look like. We may have not really enjoyed what it needs to be. So this is our own definition of democracy, because this is what we witnessed. And as opposed to what other people are saying, so we want to see something like that in the document. And lastly, person with disability, inclusivity should also be, the context is also.
Thank you for being very. Yes, please. We have to really bring this to a close.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yasmin Salawa, and I'm also the Center for Information Technology and Development. I would like to build on what Rivera said about how does AI and technology impact the democracy, how we include this in the regional financial democracy, because the way we are looking at disinformation and disinformation, as well as surveillance and control, is going to be very important to understand how AI and technology impact the democracy.
Thank you very much. 1 minute. My name is Henry Manuel Foundation. Consider that we still not reaching only regarding the regional oversight board, what kind of leverage do we have over the region in terms of energy enforcement? You look at ECOWAS, sometimes you have policies that are confident to launch, so that the issue will have to be countries. So the regional body like this, what kind of leverage do we have that can change these values that are shine in this country? Thank you. Thank you. Yes. 1 minute, please.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joshua Sampson, and I work for I Am Change Organization. First, I want to comment and also recommend that the issue is shared
only have
how
one
will
question.
you address resistance from authoritarian regimes, and how will you work in countries, with transitional or military governments, or also say what competencies are put in place for political stability? And
Thank you.
What mechanism ensure accountability among actors? Thank you.
Last question. Yes. Go ahead. Switch on the microphone, please. Go ahead.
All right. My name is Victor Kupadi. I'm the General Secretary for the African Leadership Development here. So I want to say I'm happy for the fact that I'm seeing a lot of women here. But I don't know, is it because it's really because I've been to several events, and when they say women in governance, or they say governance, there's a breakout session. You only see some few, 1, 2, 3 over there. Another sectors have a good number of people, but you don't see a lot of women in governance and people when it comes to governance. So the proactiveness and the willingness to engage in governance processes like this is what we don't get. And also, we need a democratic priority. And Africa, Nigeria in specific, should drive that. Yes, that's what I believe. Because when you go to the
Thank you.
It's hypocrisy. I just spoke to somebody about it coming here and said, Africa is going for a partnership of plutocrats or democrats.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You can come to the ministry to collect a visa to go to work.
Thank you very much. I think these are very rich comments. I will not dwell on this, but I will just skim through them so that you know that we are taking our record seriously. Women. That's extremely important. That is part of the constituency for this project. And you will see our co-leaders today are also women. So we have that at the back of our mind, and it's a big part of the work that this will support. Resistance from authoritarian regime. This project will take on challenges as they come. We cannot define what the board will do or what the experts will be. No. We are just trying, from the knowledge of what we have, from this kind of comments we are receiving from you, to make sure that it is flexible enough to be able to deal with the questions and the challenges that we will be before. What kind of leverage will the board have? Yes, this board will represent countries, will represent different sovereignties, will represent quality of mind, and all of these are important in trying to respond to challenges. We believe these will be people that will be sufficiently qualified, eminently placed to deal with the challenges of giving direction to the initiative. Inclusivity, yes. AI, good question. Thank you very much. This is already included in terms of both the positive and probably the challenging part of how AI can disrupt or can actually enhance democratic journey. CSOs ready to support, that's exactly what we're doing today. And we will continue to that as a big part of this. Selection of experts, that's a bridge that will be crossed after the process document and taken by the board. But where it is going to be the highest standards of technical expertise and integrity in selection process. Those are the comments that I have, and I just want to thank you very much. Thoroughly learned from all of you, and I do hope that we will continue this engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, please. A round of applause for all of us in the room, especially our experts. After the closing remarks, there will be photo opportunity outside or inside here with the members of the high table, and also there will be refreshment before departure. It's been a wonderful morning and early afternoon. Thank you very much for your support. My name is Hassan. I work at the Special Assistant to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And it's been wonderful comparing this event. At this point, I would like to invite Mr. Matthew Alao, Senior Government Advisor, BNP, for the vote of thanks and closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulkasim, and good afternoon, everyone. I think all of us have agreed in this room that the idea of RPD is very, very key and main at this moment. And on that note, I need to appreciate our President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for conceptualizing these ideas, and also our Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs for championing these ideas and bringing it to reality in collaboration with our mom, resident representative of UNDP, who also assumed leadership of this process from the technical angle of the United Nations. We thank everyone that has been involved in the last 1 week. This is the fourth session that we are having at the UN House. We have engaged with the member states, that is the member states. We have also engaged with the resident diplomatic missions in Nigeria. And on Thursday last week, we engaged with the development partners across the country. And today, we are engaging with the civil society. So it's a good thing that the process is shaping up. And to our facilitators that have been doing excellent job. We have that for the SSA to represent on the operation. And we have our prof, the guru of UN, and our father in the system, Professor Kamal Smith, who has also been leading. And we also have our friend and brother, Dr. Oshogu, the Director General of IPCL, that are also joining us today. We appreciate everyone. Our ambassador that is here has also been with us throughout this week, the process that we have started, and continue to engage. I show immense gratitude to our technical team from the ministry, because this is a seamless collaboration. I've never experienced that. I've seen competence, I've seen capacity, and I've seen collaboration at the peak of it. So we appreciate all of you for being there. And finally, our anchors from the ministry and also from the UN. We have the ministry anchored in 3 of these nations, while UN has anchored one of them. So to all of you, we are very grateful. This is a process that is continuous, and we are taking it forward. I think in the next few days, the project, the draft product will be ready, because it's a must. We must have something that we can deliberate on, that we can continue to refine until we get there. And we're also focusing on the private sector. They are going to be part of it, as well as the traditional rulers and among the other key actors. So on that note, I say thank you and good afternoon to all of you. Thank you.
Let me just simply acknowledge 2 women here who have brought the ladies through, and talking about gender. Please go around the applause. Thank you for your leadership in carrying the ladies and being part of this conversation. It's really happy. Thank you all once again.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it was time for example. We have no, we'll take it. So we'll take a photo here, and then we'll press and calm down. So we just have maybe the ones on the right.